The morning doesn't arrive politely. It doesn't knock. It simply happens, spilling pale gold across the riverbank while you're still rubbing sleep from your eyes. Somewhere nearby, a bird argues loudly with the concept of dawn. You stand among laborers already awake, already stretching sore shoulders, already resigned to the day ahead. This is not a priest's courtyard or a marketplace of gossip and perfume. This is where time becomes muscle. You fall into step with them as they walk toward the quarry, bare feet kicking up cool dust. Linen kilts flap softly against legs, and the air smells faintly of river mud, sweat, and yesterday's bread. No one is checking a wrist. No one is asking what time it is. They already know. The shadows told them at the edge of the worksite. A foreman stands beside a tall stone pillar planted deliberately into the ground. It isn't decorative. It isn't ceremonial. It's a shadow caster, essentially a human-height sundial, rough and practical. The foreman squints at the ground where the pillar's shadow stretches like a lazy finger. Not yet, he mutters. The workers wait. You wait with them, watching the shadow inch forward, millimeter by millimeter. This is the first wake-up call of the day, and it doesn't beep. It creeps. When the shadow finally touches a carved line scratched into the dirt, the foreman claps once. Not loudly, just enough. The sound snaps through the group like a signal fire. Hauling time, he says. And just like that, bodies move. You follow them as they lift stone blocks onto sledges. The stones are enormous, but the system is efficient. Ropes tighten. Feet dig in. Someone hums quietly, not for joy, but for rhythm. Time here is measured not only in shadows, but in breaths and heartbeats and the slow scrape of wood against sand. Historians still argue whether these labor shifts were strictly timed by hours or more loosely paced by light and fatigue. But standing here, you sense it's a blend of both. The foreman watches the sun, yes, but he also watches backs bend and shoulders slump. Time, in practice, is elastic. Mid-morning, the sun climbs higher and the shadows retreat. The foreman signals a pause. No horn, no bell, just a raised hand and a nod. Workers drop where they stand, grateful, chewing on dried figs or barley cakes. Someone splashes water over their head, muttering thanks to any god listening. Nearby, under a makeshift canopy of reeds, sits the second timekeeper of the site, a clay water clock that's squat and unglamorous, nothing like the beautifully carved temple clepsydras you saw earlier. This one is scarred, chipped, and stained with mineral rings like a very tired teacup. Water drips steadily from its base into a shallow bowl below. Plop, plop, plop. A young assistant kneels beside it, eyes fixed on the rising waterline. His entire job, his entire career, for now, is to notice when that water hits a mark scratched into the clay. He looks up at you proudly. Break ends when it reaches the fish, he says, pointing to a crude drawing inside the bowl. A fish. Of course, the foreman checks both the water clock and the sun. When they agree close enough being the key phrase, he nods again, back to it. Groans ripple through the group, but they rise. You rise with them. Though thankfully you are not expected to lift anything heavier than your curiosity as the day wears on, you begin to notice the subtle hierarchy of time. Skilled workers, stone cutters, rope makers, have looser schedules. Their tasks end when the work is right, not when a shadow says so. Unskilled haulers, on the other hand, live and die by marks in dirt and dripping jars. There's a quiet resentment there. You overhear one man mutter that the water clock runs fast when the foreman is angry. Another swears it slows down conveniently near lunch. That no one can prove it. The idea that time itself might be manipulated is unsettling and strangely familiar. You think of modern managers adjusting schedules, shaving minutes, calling it efficiency. Some things never changed. By midday, the sun is brutal. Shadows hide beneath bodies, pressed tight against feet like pets seeking shelter. Work slows naturally, no matter what the clocks say. Even the foreman knows better than to fight the sun at its peak. They rest longer now. Someone tells a joke about a man who tried to argue with a sundial and lost. Another claims his cousin once worked a double shift because the water clock clogged and no one noticed. Laughter rolls through the group, tired but genuine. This is another mainstream truth of Egyptian labor life. Despite centuries of myth, these workers are not whipped slaves building monuments under constant cruelty. Many are paid, fed, housed, rotated seasonally. Hard lives, yes, but structured ones. Timekeeping helps prevent chaos as much as it enforces control. Historians still argue whether early water clocks were used more as symbolic authority than precise instruments at work sites like this. Watching the foreman gesture vaguely between sun and jar, you suspect symbolism carries a lot of weight. Time doesn't have to be exact to be powerful. It just has to feel official. In the afternoon, clouds roll in briefly, softening the light. The foreman frowns. Shadows blur. The sundial becomes useless. He walks straight to the water clock. This, he says, tapping the jar, does not care about clouds. The assistant beams. Work resumes, guided entirely by dripping water. It's strangely calming. Each plop feels like permission to continue. Or maybe permission to endure. As the day stretches on, you feel it in your own bones. The slow accumulation of effort. The way minutes thicken into hours. You understand now why night rituals needed water clocks, why markets obsessed over shadow lengths, why even beauty routines bowed to time. Without structure, the day would swallow people whole. Finally, the sun tilts westward. Shadows lengthen again, growing bold and dramatic across the ground. The foreman watches closely. This time, when the shadow reaches the final mark, he doesn't clap, he smiles. That's enough, he says. The relief is immediate. Tools drop. Shoulders sag. Someone cheers quietly, as if afraid the sun might hear and take offense. The assistant carefully plugs the water clock's hole with a wad of clay, sealing time itself for the night. You walk back with the workers toward the river, feet aching in sympathy. The sky turns amber, then rose. Someone mentions tomorrow's shift will start earlier. Another groans. A third jokes that maybe the sun will oversleep. You think back to the apprentice with his bedside water cup, the dripping bowls and temples, the sundial tan lines in the market. All of it connects here. This is where alarm clocks matter, not to wake kings or priests, but to get stone moved, bread earned, lives organized. Time, you realize, isn't abstract here. It's personal. It tells you when to lift, when to rest, when you are done for the day. As the workers peel away toward their homes, you linger a moment longer, watching the last drops fall from the water clock as it's emptied. Plop, plop, done. Tomorrow, it will begin again. For now, the day exhales, and so do you.